So now you're in regular mode. The next time you make, we'll do 2 laps around. The next time you make this, I'd like you to go through this slalom in the sport mode and with the extra region, so you can kind of cut through this thing with just taking your foot off the accelerator. I think you'll enjoy that.
So I'll stop here?
You can stop, and then this one I'd like you to give it a little, something, and I'm going to shift you into sport during it, so you can feel the additional pedal map change.
Oh yeah.
Now, what we have done is, you guys are very familiar with the instantaneous torque. We created a little bit of a lag so that my prototype tires wouldn't get ripped up. But obviously you can tell that even at its unfinished state, you know, it's got the capabilities that we expect from. Keep on going. This time I'm going to ask you to shift it now down into low. And you'll feel a little bit. It's not as heavy as what you're used to, but you'll see it's very nice as you cut through here.
No brakes required here.
So is it regenning as you let off?
Yeah.
So it's got,
I'm adding a little brake right here.
Wow. So it's got the same as the Tesla and the BMW.
But it's not as heavy though. It gives you the
It's about
choice.
20. So this is full regen right here.
Okay.
But we wanted to, again, in the spirit of not having to turn on brake lights and things of that sort. You can see without even the full noise, vibration, and acoustics package and the ride and handling package, it's got a year ahead of launch. This thing has got really, we were so excited about the general characteristics and foundation of the car. Yeah, we'll try to get as many people through. We'll get the other people here driving. And it always, even when you coast, it regens in normal mode, and even when you apply the brake, it regens first, motor brakes, before it applies friction brakes.
Okay.
So even in spite of it being a hand-built prototype, you can, not many noises, more noises from gravel and the tire noise than there is in the interior. We're actually, in the production version, we're actually putting in thicker glass. This thing is going to be so quiet, and I mean, you can hear the electric motor noises is pretty controlled and stuff.
Tony, is it going to come with low rolling resistance tires?
Absolutely. So you can see, as much as this will be, an efficient car, we think it has, as you guys know, great fun to drive attributes, Even the rolling resistance tires have exceeded. We'll do one more for you as well.
Can we try it in sport mode?
You are in sport.
Oh, okay.
Now, what I'd like you to try, I'm going to shift you. Now you get a little bit of the extra regen.
Oh, okay.
So as you slalom, you can lean into the slalom a layer, but see if you can do it without hitting the brake at all, just with the... It's nice. It's standard traction control, standard ABS.
Yeah, it's nice.
You don't feel out of control at all. And like I said, the production versions we're driving now are even tighter. Even, when you do production parts off of production tools, and the dimensions are really tight. And even the tires, they're biased towards rolling resistance, but the ride and handling characteristics and the braking resistance characteristics and the winter and snow characteristics are not bad at all. You can see that, you have fun with this car, huh?
Yeah.
Jesus. You guys are way faster than I'm going to drive.
Well, we'll do an efficiency driver next. So good.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
So, am I in sport mode? Or?
You are in sport mode. If you want to, and this is just squeeze it and pull. See, this is part of our theme, and you're one more, and you'll get to drive.
Oh, got it. Okay. Didn't know where to look. All right.
And this is a little efficiency ball that, if you keep it balanced, it sort of helps you. If you see, now you're going real nice. See, it's not. If you were to hit it, it starts rising. It's telling you.
I see.
You see how that works?
Yeah.
That's some of the things we're playing with.
Okay. So the regen isn't really strong right now?
It's not strong right now. We'll, whenever you want to try it, you can shift it in at any time. That's the other thing, is we make these customer selectable options, something that you can do literally on the fly.
Okay, where's the regen and how would I?
It's shifted into a low gear position, and you're good to go now. So you won't see any difference in the acceleration performance, but now if you let off, you'll see. And it really is, the guys that I think have done a nice job blending it, because it's never obtrusive, to some people, you know, the Mini or Tesla thing is a little harsh still. And we've done a nice job blending. In the future, we may offer.
Do you provide a kilowatt hour, a kilowatt usage or regen bar chart?
Nope, not currently. Yet. This is part of the package.
Yeah.
We talked about the black box package.
Yeah, that would be convenient to have, just to get a feeling.
Oh yeah. Now you can go through the slalom course and see if you like it better with a little bit of this extra regen. So you can almost go. Oh, you had to use the brake there.
Yeah, that's just because I'm a coward. Those guys were scaring me back there. Wow,
see,
this thing runs great.
Is it? And this is again a year. This is a hand-built prototype. The ones I've been driving back at home, guys, and I'm a little bit of I'm suffering from the proud papa syndrome. Oh, guys, you guys are just gonna love them. You guys are gonna love them. I mean, again, we took away. There's a little bit of lag, so you don't tear up the prototype tires. Can you notice that when you?
Yeah, I did notice it. So that lag will be there.
The lag will not be there. The lag will not be there, just because again, we just don't want. Trust me, you know, people like to experience these cars, and so. Sure. All right, let's get the next crew in. Many of you may recognize this. This is the recently approved SAE J1772 standard, which we've got now approved in the United States. We're hopefully going to grow it globally. You know, we talked about how do we further the cause. Boy, just not debating, you know, the standards for the hardware and some of the communication protocol is the first step, because then if we get more charging stations out there available that are all using the same thing, then everyone can kind of comply. So this will evolve over time, but the Volt will have this and will be one of the leaders to drive volume in this space. So let's.
And it's 240. And
we'll talk about that next. With every Chevy Volt. Standard with every car. And these are the prototype parts. Standard with every car will be a 120 volt charge cord set, EVSC if you prefer, or electric vehicle supply equipment unit. So we'll take it out. You know, we were happy that this is as crude as it is, although our designers are just, they can't wait to showcase the production part that was inspired by the bronze shaver. And you know, we've got these guys that are creative types, and so you can see they've tried to create a fit, you know. So when you have this powered up, and this is pretty recognizable, 120 volt, any standard wall outlet, the power will also drive a little flashlight here. So we're trying to think of everything. So at night you're trying to plug in, it's dark, but as long as it's plugged in here, powered up, squeeze it, flashlight, you see where you're pointing at. Okay.
Tony, can you show us how it goes?
Sure.
Yeah.
So relatively easy. And you charge. Now what happens is there's a lot of smarts built into the car, some smarts built into this particular unit. The challenge that we all have is communicating to people that even though this is high voltage, you know, the battery pack's got order of magnitude 370 volts of electricity and the like, is how do you get people unafraid of this technology? Well, nothing flows until you see these little lights here that shows that there's a ground present, that the AC is present. Nothing flows till all of these handshakes are made and the car says now flow the electricity. So nothing can happen to someone, you know, they're concerned, oh my God, you know, can I have this leaving outside? Of course you can leave it outside. Your Christmas lights are outside. You can take this particular device and you can hose it out. You can dunk it in soap. We've driven over this, have the car driven over this because, surprise, surprise, you think someone will have this plugged in? And we'll have some bracketry, so if you want to hang it on the wall this way, you want to even hang it upside down, you can hang it this way. And then obviously this comes with the car. You can order a second one if you so desire, but we'll also offer through General Motors using some of the same guts and the like, same coupler. Obviously the car will have the same receptacle, will have a different gauge wire, and it'll be an opportunity to hard mount this, because that's what the code says, the 240 unit. So there's a little station, relatively modest and low cost, not elaborate like some of the charging station small companies are. They're, you know, building, you know, gold-plated things with maybe a lot of smarts in there, so it'll be relatively modest cost. And we're anticipating that people will probably be better served to have a 240 somewhere around their house, in the garage, outside, depending on where they live, have this always with the car. And this way you can opportunity charge if you're, you know, going on trips and the like. And so the beauty of this thing is that, and this will all be, we've done all the you know, UL certifications and like all in process right now. So we think we'll give people the confidence that this experience is quite safe. And the beauty of it is when the car is plugged in, the car has a lot of other inherent smarts or capabilities. When the car is plugged in, because it's plugged in, it naturally will peel off electricity to keep the battery conditioned. Those of you and all of you have the experience of plug-in cars and battery-powered cars. If the battery gets very, very cold, it doesn't like to behave. You know, it has morning sickness. It doesn't behave well in the morning. So we naturally will peel off electricity to keep the battery at a particular temperature. Because the battery has a liquid cooling system and a full-fledged heating system, it will try to target a particular temperature band range. And even when your car is plugged in, you'll hear noises being made, pumps going on, valves shutting on and off, because it's flowing to keep that particular temperature of the battery in the right spot. The beauty of this then beyond is that the electricity from the grid is relatively modest, so that you're not using the precious battery energy that's stored up to heal itself or warm itself up, if you will. Now, obviously, in California, it's a little more expensive than otherwise, but across the nation, 10, 11 cent on average is sort of the equivalent of about 2 cents a mile is the cost of that energy, if you will. When the car is plugged in also, we give you another option. Via your fob or the smartphone that Dave has, we've exhibited this, and my car can do this today. You can do the equivalent of a remote start. Well, what does that mean? You don't actually start the engine in this car, do you? No, of course not. But you hit the remote start button, and what it'll allow you to do is when your auto temperature setting in the car is at a particular setting, it will use the grid power again. So you're 10 minutes before you're shipping off, and obviously you don't experience it like we do in Detroit, but it's cold in Detroit, so I hit my button and it will start using the grid energy to warm the car up.
Cabin preheat.
Cabin preheat. Spot on.
Very nice.
And so that's the thought process, once again, preserving the battery energy so that you can use it for propulsion as long as possible. So those are a couple of the features we have. The other nice feature is, let's say, for example, you chose not to plug in, or you couldn't plug in, and the battery had a fairly deep cold soak and the ambient's pretty low, and you know what that happens with pure EVs. You're very, very power limited, and frankly, you can't use the car. We still have the capability to turn an engine on if we so desire, just to get you started, till the system works itself out and the battery gets to a right temperature and is conditioned properly. Then you drive with battery electric power as long as you have juice in your battery. So those are a couple of things, that just a few smatterings of the things that we've built into the car. A few of the other smatterings in the mobile apps, and this is just a few of the things that we've thought through, is because we are monitoring the car and can push that data to OnStar at any point in time to the back office, just like you would want to check to make sure your vehicle is plugged in, we can send a signal to the car based on how you preset that. Mine is preset at 8 o'clock at night. It checks if the car is plugged in or not, and if it's not plugged in, it sends me a text message. It says, Tony, you dummy, plug it in, because if you forget, you'll then miss the opportunity of the overnight charge. So those are just and some of the features we haven't all shared, because that's obviously the Volt's been a very transparent, open program, and that's our intent, to help teach people, get input, give people the confidence that General Motors is back, that we're going to be a technology leader again, and I'm pretty confident of that. But we have some other surprises because we have other chapters in the story to tell. And again, we want to keep people interested, building up to the launch. And I think the story behind this is, obviously we have a propulsion system we think works real well. We've got great history in developing these propulsion systems, and you guys will get to drive it here shortly, number one. Number two, we're going to develop a very, very robust battery that will last a long, long time. And we've got high confidence based on all the testing we've done today. It's 10 plus years in the car because of the specific things that we're doing relative to managing the state of charge window band, the temperature control, the other robust features.
Take your prop away from it.
Thank you, sir. I might hurt somebody with it,
You haven't announced a warranty yet, have you?
We can make the following statement: the battery will be warranted at a minimum of 8 years.
Doesn't California law mandate 10 years on a hybrid?
If your vehicle is dual fuel in California for the PZEV requirements, it'll be 10 years. Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so but nationwide it's 8.
Yeah, and again, rather than getting too complicated, that's why I say a minimum of 8 years.
Yeah.
Could be more.
You got it.
And as many of you know, the way the CARB regulations work on the battery, you really could operate the car longer It's just we trigger at a 70% capacity level, so you would just get less and less EV range. So we have that level of confidence in the battery, and that the battery will have secondary uses. We talked about it with a few of you that are, you guys are very, very forward thinking, already thinking beyond as to how I can integrate this thing. And there are some projects we might like to do in the future. Once we have the car launched and it works in the environment intended, we're looking at the bigger opportunities as to how to dial in the renewables, how to incorporate smart charging, even how to look at the V2H scenario. And this is a couple years after we launched the car. V2G is a way out. It's a way out thing. We have other building blocks to put in place.
Did I miss something? But what about 240?
And as we stated, with General Motors, you'll get the option to have a 240 unit. We develop and build the additional charging unit. It's relatively modest in cost because we have smarts are in the car, so we don't build a lot of smarts into the EVSE, electric vehicle supply equipment unit. But we do suggest that you have one of our, and we'll announce at some point in the future, our preferred service providers that'll help you make sure your home is ready. And some of you won't need that. Some of you can operate the car with the 120 volt because you're going to charge it overnight. You don't need special apparatus. Some of you will say, a 3-hour charge is really nice.
And how? I mean, when you say minimal cost or modest cost, what are you between hundreds or thousands?
I think I've priced out some of the specific charging companies I've seen in the 500 to 1,000 range, and let's just say it'll be less than that.
And so with a 120,
comes with the car.
Right, comes with the car, but that would take from 0 to full.
In a little over 8 hours.
8 hours.
A little over 8 hours. What we want to do is just, because we try to calculate in the conditioning, in a purest sense, if you just did the basic simple arithmetic, but because we use conditioning, we try to be open with people, say it'll be a little bit longer because we're trying to protect your battery. We're going to peel off some of the electricity, and it varies. In California, it'll probably be less because you won't need quite as much conditioning. You won't get as hot or as cold, et cetera, et cetera.
And you know what? We don't charge for this slogan. Please use it. How long does it take to charge? About 5 seconds. Boom,
there you go. I like it. I like it. Well, we kid around and say, how long do you guys sleep at night?
Right,
exactly.
Right.
That's just
while I sleep. It's not just sleeping either. It's when you come home from work and when you leave the next morning. It's even longer.
That's perfect.
Plug in the car, plug in the phone.
Well, and the other thing also is we try to open up people's minds. Is we collect data when we do OnStar with the car, and we collect it on current vehicles today. And, it should surprise you that on average a person drives their car an hour and a half a day. Isn't that fascinating information? So 22 and a half hours a day could be plugged in.
Yes, that's good. Yeah, that's a good one.
Another
that's a new one. Especially with 120.
Yeah. Now, the other thing that we're going to do also with the car on charging is we will offer up the opportunity to, we'll start with a very simplistic, almost like how you schedule your home sprinklers or your thermostat. You'll have the capability of programming when you want it to charge. And this is still being developed, so I can't give you all the specifics, but the primary thing will be when is the the departure time. And you'll plug in 6 a.m. is my departure time. So let's say you get home from work at 6 p.m., you plug it in, it won't start charging until it knows it's made the calculations and said, okay, I need X many hours to charge in order for you to be ready at 6 a.m. And so this is the proxy for us to try to help you facilitate the off-peak. Eventually, we're going to try to work the handshakes with the utilities to try to exchange their rate tables. But as you guys know, you got to start with a few people first. You cannot have a situation where you're working with all 3,000 utilities at once. And this is a little bit why, and I think you guys are familiar with this, why California is one of the first launch regions. We think you guys are very progressive. We like a lot of your utilities, and we think in a couple of the regions we can help develop this. And so when we launch the car here in the future, hopefully we'll have another opportunity in a session when we get the real production cars and start working this thing and start working on the next level of enhancements. The beauty of this thing is because we have the OnStar black box in the car. It already exists for 13 or 14 years. We're on generation 9 hardware of the black box. I don't need an additional black box in the car to make it talk to someone outside the car. And which is a wonderful thing because many of you are working with other EV companies or whatever, and so there has to be an incremental additional black box put on the car. This black box happened to have been a safety and security blanket that we put in and afforded people, as well as the navigation tools and things of that sort. Now that capability of talking to the car, pulling data from the car offers us up a whole new set of opportunities. and we can send signals to the car. I think Dave highlighted to you some of the capabilities that we can do with the smartphone. I mean, I'm convinced that someday it could effectively replace your key fob. And I tell you a funny story. As you guys can well guess, we got a lot of smart people in General Motors, and I remember the very first time the guys that working in our R&D labs that came to me and they said, "Tony, we have the smart fob." I said, "What's that?" So he says, this is your fob, Tony. And they're telling it to me like, talking real slow. And they said, the smart fob will have a little screen on it. It'll have more buttons. It'll have a battery. And it'll be yay big. I said, "Oh, boy, that's really clever." I said, "How often do I have to change that battery?" "Oh, probably every 6 months." I said, "We're expecting the customers to do that?" I said, "What if I don't want to carry? What if I hate carrying this one in my wallet,
Let alone.
in my pocket, let alone that one?" I said, I said, "Guys, let's take a look at something else that someone else carries." And I said, "Let's take a look at this one." So he said, "Can we do that?" I said, "You bet." And so this is how we started a little bit with, and we announced it, you probably heard some of the announcement at the Consumer Electronics Show in Vegas, where we actually did a live demonstration of the capability. It was fascinating because we've done a lot of these demonstrations back in Detroit. And what happens when you do the demonstration, let's say you send the signal to unlock the car, what it does is it uses the cellular network, and it sends the signal to OnStar, and then OnStar sends the signal to the car. Well, at CES, many of you guys have experienced CES, there's just all kinds of cyber activity going on. And so we're in the press shows, and there's probably about 1 million people, texting and BlackBerrying. And so all of a sudden, the airways are full. So we send the signal out to OnStar. It receives the signal. You see the car unlock, but then the response says, "Command not executed." And the guys were a little flustered, and the guy came up to Zephyr and says, "You know what? That was a real demo. You guys didn't calculate all the latency of all the activity, so we had a 5-second timeout that if it didn't respond or whatever, get a signal back, it said, 'Command not done.'" I said, "That was a real demo." I said, "Yeah, we didn't have some guy hiding there and pushing up the unlock thing in the back seat." I said, we're really doing it because that's how we learn how to make an electric vehicle also a connected vehicle. And it's really important to be a connected vehicle because ultimately the relationship with the grid is something no one's really talked about, other than the grid guys are a little bit into the doom and gloom that, as soon as you plug in three or four cars in a cul-de-sac, the transformers will break down.
Swimming pools.
Right. Yeah, or plasma screen TVs, or hot tubs, or
Starbucks.
Well, why don't we connect some people to the steering wheel and
Yep.
take them for a drive?
Thank you, Dave. Okay.
Once I had a guzzler I could not afford. It cost me more every day. Once I had a guzzler, now it's gone. Chevy Volt's here to stay. Here to stay. Don't you remember it was filler up, so much we couldn't pay. Don't you remember where all your money went? E-Flex came and saved the day. Chevy Volt leaves me money per way. Chevy